and I just have to edit LinkedIn. So give me 1 second here. Save changes. So we are live. This is the Winningest Show with myself, Adam Wynns, and we're here with the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, E Entertainments, the founder of E Entertainment, Larry Namer. Welcome, Larry.
Thanks for having me, Adam. Good to be here.
Larry and I have been close for a very long period of time. I'm sure you have a lot of older friends than myself. You gave me my start, let's say, in the business when it comes to TV. I wouldn't have got there without you. One of the biggest regrets in my life, when I think back of things that I should have done, Larry once offered me a contract for 10% of everything I make for my entire life. And I didn't take it. And it's one of those shots that I'm like, oh, I should have done that one. So we're here to talk to Larry. We got to forget about the past and put that behind us and really talk about the future. And when it comes to being the winningest at anything, you are the top dog. You are the top dog in television, creating the E Entertainment channel, which we all know went to huge. It's monumental, right? I mean, it's in
140 countries now, so yeah, it's gotten big.
Yeah, and the brand value now is worth how many billions and billions of dollars, right?
I've heard the estimate now is at $4 billion.
Wow, and that's not including any Kardashian money, right? That's
after Kardashian money, and
right.
So yeah, so it's doing really well, and clearly it's become the kind of the major influencer in pop culture around the world.
You have done that. So, a lot of times when the cable guy comes to my house and installs my cable, I always think of you. I always think and I'm looking at that guy and I'm like, hey man, you can do it. You can become this huge business mogul. You just have to have the right mindset. So what was it inside of you that made you start on the front lines of cable and really, make it all the way up in the ranks? What was it that led you to that?
Well, it was, I started, even my degree was in economics, but I couldn't figure out what you do with it. So I figured I'd take a summer job. So I got a job as the assistant splicer in the sewers of Manhattan. I wasn't even the splicer. I was the assistant for a cable company that then was known as Sterling Manhattan.
Right.
Which later became Manhattan Cable, which became Time Inc., and then Time Warner. And so I had grown up on the technical side, so I really got to understand all the different aspects because I went from assistant splicer to construction to.
But that's really starting in the trenches. You're the epitome of starting on the ground level.
It was actually under the ground
underground level
sewer.
Yeah.
And so I grew up understanding that. So as cable began to catch on and get more sophisticated, I already knew the technical side. So I kind of could, imagine what all these technical capabilities might be capable of doing. Where
Nice.
a lot of people just, this is a way you get good reception.
Right.
We looked at it and said, this is a way you can get a lot more than just good reception.
Oh, yeah. But what was it behind you that really, I get it that you have this genius mentality behind you, but you could have simply just, continue doing your job and not see the top level. So what was it that what is it that actually drives you to get there? So what made you, was it something you were born with? Is it something you focus on daily? How do you get there?
No, well, I came from a very humble kind of lower middle class background. My father was a Pepsi Cola truck driver.
Wow.
My mother worked for the Department of Social Services in New York. And, their aspiration was, get a civil service job and you'll be able to retire with a pension. So, it didn't come from there. But, when I built this, I was responsible for a lot of things in building Manhattan, which is really the first big urban cable system that was ever built. And then I got recruited to come out to LA to build a big LA system, which was the
Right.
first two-way interactive. And that's where I really began to get interested in programming and where I got introduced to the entertainment business. And as I began to learn the economics of making and marketing movies, particularly the marketing, I said, well, there's an unbelievable opportunity here because right now they can only afford to advertise a movie a week before it comes out. But I'll kill that. But they really should start marketing the movie while it's in production.
Right.
The directors and the special effects and the stunts and the music and all of that. So, I kind of had that idea in my head. And then the company I worked for was actually a Canadian company, but they had the LA franchise, the Valley, and they sold out and moved back to Toronto. And I didn't go from New York to LA to go to Toronto for sure.
Definitely, that's a downward promotion. Yes.
I already got rid of all my winter clothes. So when that happened, I said, you know what? There's a great opportunity there because kind of the saying that we used to use is cable TV is like an electronic newspaper.
Right.
You could say CNN is the headlines and ESPN is the sports and home shopping is the classifieds. What was glaringly missing was the entertainment pages, which are the second most read section of any newspaper. So Alan Marufka, my partner, and I, we just decided we're going to create, the entertainment section of the electronic newspaper. And, we thought people would give us money because it was a good idea. But it took us 3.5 years to raise the first dollar. And then as soon as it went on the air, everybody said, oh, why didn't you tell us we would have given you money years ago?
Of course. So that's quite amazing, to say the least. And your partner, is he still in the TV business? And is that still Alan? Is he still doing, your former partner? Is he still doing TV?
Yeah, Alan is doing a little bit of TV and a little bit of film, but Alan moved back east and he got into the family real estate business.
Okay.
So he's been managing that and kind of doing entertainment-related stuff on the side.
Nice. Well, you and I met after we both spent a lot of time in Russia. So we both have this Russian connection. And for a while, it was a really hot spot, right? So you made a lot of inroads in the 90s into Russia. And that was a really, let's say, opportunistic. And it seems to me you're always like ahead of the opportunity. So with cable, I mean, you're ahead of the opportunity. With Russia, you're ahead of the opportunity. I mean, did you see like all this stuff happening on the phone when you were on that side of things? So being ahead of the game, did you see where we are today talking in this medium, sending, TikTok and all these different things that the kids are on, being on so many different channels and so many different places. Did you see that back then?
The answer is partially yes. My last thing, the company that I work for in New York was bought by Time Incorporated, and they made this very concerted effort to become a media company as opposed to just a publishing company.
Right.
And my last assignment there, I was the head of corporate development. So my job was finding non-entertainment uses of cable television. Okay. So this is pre-internet. We were doing data communications. We were doing telephony. We were doing security. We were doing remote medical diagnostics. So, nice. Really what I was focused on was how humans will use technology between the year 2000 and the year 2020, which now is right upon us. So a lot of these things we couldn't imagine to the extent that they've dominated our, culture, but a lot of it was envisioned back then, and I'm talking late 70s, early 80s.
Nice. So you've been a visionary and one step ahead of the game, pretty much in everything you've done.
Yeah. Well, when I decided to, be an indie, one of the rules that I've always had is, go places where Rupert Murdoch is not.
Right.
And I use Rupert kind of as a symbol for, big media and stuff. I can't compete with Time Warner in the UK or Germany or any. But, if I pick a place like Russia where they're skeptical of big American media to begin with,
right.
So as an indie, I'm on a level playing field with those kind of guys. So, we did a lot in Russia. We were there for, 10, 12 years, actually.
Yep.
We did TV shows. We brought Santa Barbara, the soap opera there, which is the #1 TV show for literally 5 days a week for 10
Yeah, I
years.
think a lot of Russian housewives thank you for that.
Yeah, well, these days, unfortunately, it's the grandmas of
Yeah, of course.
girls, and they say, "Oh, my grandmother used to watch that show," which is unfortunate, but that's the way life goes. And we did a lot of concerts. We did over 300 concerts there, from
I know.
David Bowie to Sheryl Crow, and all of those kind of folks.
All the greats.
Yeah, so we had a pretty robust business there, and then I kind of discovered China and kind of went into China, and again for the same reason. It's where can I be on a level playing field with all the big guys?
Yeah, let's talk about China a little bit. So the way I see it and the way that I get, you and I have lived a large portion of our life outside of the United States of America. We've got a lot of stamps in our passports, and not that many, let's say, businessmen do, especially even some businessmen at the highest level. A lot of our congressmen and senators, they don't even have passports, never left, got a stamp, and gone anywhere. The way that I see the future and the numbers that I've done, because you and I have been talking a lot about China for a long time. I'm late to the game. You've been there for 10 years. Okay. The way that I understand China now, and the way that I understand, let's say, United States politics, so to speak, is that, I'm here in Florida right now, right? We've got Sunny Isles, Florida. You got these tall skyscrapers built by the Russians, right? But when we were in Russia, I didn't see any skyscrapers built by the Americans, okay? And I'm quite sure if I go over to China right now, I'm not seeing many skyscrapers built by the Americans. In my personal opinion, I think that that's probably a mistake, because from my understanding, and you're the expert on China, but I did some research, wanted to get the facts right, that over 50% of all luxury goods right now are sold in China, meaning those people have the money. The affluent market is on a upward spiral. That means people with $100,000 to $1 million liquid cash to buy your products. So if I'm wearing my investor hat, if I'm wearing my businessman hats, why the heck am I opening a business in America when it's going down? And I'm not against America. I'm saying open an American business in China or in another country where they're doing it here. Why aren't more Americans, as I understand it, that's one of the things you're assisting on, but that's where I see the future of business is going to China, operating, these trade deals and tariffs. Maybe you can speak a little bit about that, but I see it as that is a lot of future American money. You got to go over there and grab it because there's a huge market.
Yeah. Well, first, you start off, you just look at the pure size of the market. It's 1.3 billion people, so it's
billion people.
So it's 3 to 4 times bigger than we are here.
Yeah.
And you look at now, there are over 400 million people in China that have money, that are considered middle class and consumers. That's more than there are people in the United States.
So there's more middle class there than there are people in the United States.
That's right. So even though people with money there, may represent, 1/3 of the population, it's still big. That 1/3 is still bigger than all of the U.S.
It's huge.
Yeah. And so you look at things, and because you had communism there, and, you had this system where everybody's supposed to look the same, be the same, act the same. So now that's kind of been, kind of gone the wayside, people are rushing out and they want to buy stuff.
Right.
So you look at, just take Beijing, for example. So you take Chanel. There are now more Chanel stores in Beijing than there are in all of the United States.
Wow.
So, you think about that. And
yeah,
it's now, the number one market for KFC.
Yeah.
Pepsi is huge there, all the Yum brands and stuff like that. So it continues to grow. I mean, the market, let's say, is at 400 million now. In 3 or 4 years, it'll be at 500 million, then 600 million. As they begin to really, this program to move people out of the agricultural boondocks into the big cities and tech jobs and manufacturing jobs, that number of consumers just continues to grow. And because a lot of this buying is new, they haven't really established brand loyalties yet.
Right.
Like here in the U.S., you could say a guy who's a teenager that shaves with Gillette will probably stay a Gillette brand follower for the rest of his life. In China, they're developing those habits. So
So it's
there's
a wide open opportunity.
huge opportunity for people to come in. I mean, here, we're in the media business, and of course, it relies on sponsorship and advertising.
Yeah.
So when we talk to someone and we have a good idea in the U.S., they go through the analysis, and Pepsi will go, well, maybe this can move 1/100% to market share, and therefore our ROI is whatever. In China, a good idea, you could move the market 3, 4, 5 points, and when you're doing it against 1.3 billion people, that's a heck of a lot of new consumers for a product. So people are willing to take bigger chances.
That's a lot of razor blades. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that media side. So I know that you have on your team some, let's say, old boys club from Murdoch's crew and some different things like that. So you mentioned Murdoch, you go into territories that he's not in. So you've got China, as far as I understand, and there's some cooperation there. Tell me a little bit about how that works and your leverage that you have there that you really bring to the table.
Yeah, well, I first went in there, because in my years in Russia, I ended up helping the Russians, the Minister of Communications in Russia, help do the rewriting of media regulations, the regulatory environment.
Nice.
And, that worked out pretty well for them and became kind of the model for, let's call them these post-communist economies.
Yeah.
And when the Chinese kind of started looking at the fact that they needed to reform the media environment there, they liked the Russian model. Somehow they found me. So I got invited in by the Chinese government people.
Right.
So I had worked with those guys, and I was teaching young television executives how to cope with this huge shift from doing everything according to the Communist Party to now having to worry about advertisers and ratings.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. So that's how I got in there. And then we set up this company, this media company, and we do everything from, we've done sitcoms and reality shows and dramas, and now we're doing a big travel show called Explore the World, where we go around the world. Everything we do is in Mandarin.
Nice.
So some of the stuff we learned early on, and again, this kind of goes to why we're there and Rupert is not. And again, I'm using Rupert symbolically, not exactly. So the the people, the big media companies, you go in and go, okay, here's this thing and here's the way we do it in Australia, and we'll give it to you and we'll subtitle it in English, and the Chinese are just looking at it going, hey, you know what, we're 3 times the size of you.
Yeah.
We like being Chinese, we like being here. If you're not willing to produce stuff in our language for our people, then you're probably in the wrong place.
Right.
So early on, we just decided we're going to produce specifically for China, for Chinese audiences, and produce it all in Mandarin. And
Nice.
That's been a pretty successful, thing for us. And so now we're doing this travel show where our Chinese host goes around the world and really looks at pop culture in different places. Right now, the team is in they're in Croatia. So, we look at the food, the fashion, the music, what young people are doing. Because Chinese travel, the money in China is much younger than anywhere else, which was one of the most surprising things there. Here, when people kind of hit their 40s, they already own a house, and, they go on, they retire at 65, and they got money in the bank. In China, the people that are over 40, 45 years old, all a cultural revolution.
Yeah.
Don't think different. Don't be different. Be satisfied with the few grains of rice we give you.
Gotcha.
So all the entrepreneurship stuff is happening among the younger people. So they're the travelers.
Okay, nice.
When you do a travel show, you got to really appeal to what's going to. They want to know about snowboarding and
right.
things like that, which an older audience couldn't care less about.
Great places to go and great people to do business when they're there. I get it. Yeah. So with that being said, China being this huge market, generally, what is it you actually? So you've conquered Russia, as far as being a media titan there and teaching them the way of how to make money in media. You're in China. First of all, who are some of the people you're working with? Because I know you've worked with a lot of celebrities like Keanu Reeves and different people like that. So there's always this push forward and push back and these different things. Who's big there? Can anybody be big there? Are they what is the Chinese consumer looking for, so to speak?
Well, first, there's if Chinese movie stars are, very big, and we typically don't know most of who they are. I mean, we know, but
Right.
the American audience doesn't know because Chinese movies and Chinese TV don't really get seen anyplace other than China.
Okay.
But if you look at the audience, they get all the big movies.
Okay.
They know all the Marvel movies and they know all those stars. But again, the interesting thing that I find about there is they value our TV stars as much as they value our movie stars. So you could take, Brad Pitt, who to us is, wow, Brad Pitt. But in China, he's on the same level as Sheldon from Big Bang Theory.
Wow. Okay.
Because Big Bang Theory is a huge show there, and they value Sheldon more than, a Brad Pitt, let's say.
That's a huge nugget for the actual brand that's looking for some sponsors or some spokespersons or things like that. That's a huge value add.
Absolutely. And, now esports, which is beginning to really take off here, is huge in China, much bigger in China than it is.
NBA? How's the NBA there?
NBA is huge. There's now, again, my head is filled with funny statistics. There are now over 300 million people in China who play basketball.
Nice. Wow.
You look at Steph Curry and LeBron and Kobe, before he retired, are just huge there. And
D Wade, right? I've got a friend of mine that works with D Wade and those guys. And, is there an appeal for them over there? Because I know he's got a big shoe sponsorship and different things. How would you, if you're advising these, let's say, up and coming ballers, because we have a lot of those guys around us, what's their go-to over there? So what do they do? Do they go for shoe sponsorship? Do they start their own brand? Do they get a TV show? Do they start? How do you do it? What's the formula?
Yeah, you go. We were actually invested in a company called Migyan, which is out of Shanghai.
Okay.
And they're kind of a brand development influencer kind of thing. So among the people that they represent, so you go to a company like them who has all the connections in China.
Okay.
And it's the starting point. It doesn't have to be forever. So you take John Legend, goes through Migyan. The people from Vampire Diaries, Ian Somerhalder, goes through. The NBA alumni also. The NBA alumni.
Oh, okay, nice.
Works through them. So they set up merchandising deals and TV deals, and they set up all that stuff, which is a great way to get your foot in the market. People who come to us and develop media properties, like we work for like brands like Bacardi.
Okay.
Come to us and say,
nice.
We have a problem that you can't tell in a 30-second commercial. Can you develop a long-standing TV property for us? So we developed the show called Modern Life, which was kind of Friends meets Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
And, one of the kids decides to become a bartender. And, of course, he knows all about how to make Western drinks. So in the show, you don't really see him make any drinks. But if you go to the Bacardi website, there's, the guy from, Jerry from Modern Life teaching you how to make a Bloody Mary or whatever. So we build him as an expert in Western drinks in the TV show. And then if you see him there, even to the point where if there's a new club opening, let's say in Shanghai, they'll have Jerry from Modern Life there signing, pictures and doing autographs and
nice
stuff like that. So again, you can do a lot of interesting stuff there that you really can't do here because of the scale.
Right. So when the easiest way for someone to do something like this. So how do we, as you know, we're helping you along, and like we're kind of fielding some information from you. So if we want to get our audience and those of our network into China, when we send them to you, so we're fielding a lot of different players out there in the world to bring them to your organization. What does that what does that look like? And is it completely turnkey? So if I've got a baller that wants to bring, he wants to do a shoe, he wants to do a line of clothing, he wants to do cologne, he wants to do a vodka brand. Is that something you handle from start to finish, or is that something that how does that work? Explain how working with Larry and Metan and all the value that you guys actually bring, because as I understand, you guys are like super plugged in.
Yeah, we're we're a media company at heart, but
Right.
we started a few years back. We started a business consulting division, which helps anybody outside of China get into China. So we
Right.
start out going, okay, what's the best route in? And we may attach you to a company like Mignon to handle your social media. We might connect you to a brand to do your shoe deal. We might go to one of the TV channels and set up a TV deal.
Okay.
But we just did a big project for a company called Printful, which is a print on demand, like T-shirts, print on demand.
Yeah.
And so we help them get their licenses. So we
Okay.
help them go through the legal process. We sourced good vendors for them. We set up their whole e-commerce business relationships. So we
Nice.
kind of help them soup to nuts to go from zero in China to becoming an operating company in China.
Nice.
I mean, and now we help them get their management and their employees and do all of that. So that's typically done on a consulting plus equity basis. We take a little piece of equity in everybody we help because we can.
And it's such a high level that you're taking them to that it makes sense for anybody who's doing business in the United States right now. If you're not in the Chinese market, you should be, right? I mean, is there anybody that you can't help?
I mean, there are certain things where, let's say Chinese companies are so entrenched that we don't believe that they could be overtaken at this stage.
Okay.
Particularly in, let's say, the search engine field. If you came to us with a search engine,
Yeah, I got you.
we would say, hey, we don't think we can help you.
How about wine and spirits and
all of
clothing?
those are great. Those are great, and the marketing is just booming. I mean, now you mentioned wine. If you look at the auctions in Paris, the First Growth auctions, you can't even buy First Growth wine anymore, other than being a Chinese company that's already got it locked up.
They're like the number one importer of French wine in the world now. It's amazing.
It's unbelievable. So there's this huge interest in Western foods and recipes and all that. And getting back to where do you put your money? You just look at the restaurant scene there.
Okay.
Everybody always says, oh, China is just about Chinese food. Well, little known secret, next to New York, Shanghai is now the best food city in the world.
Wow.
Because every great chef from everywhere is going, okay, where do I open up my next restaurant? Where it used to be they would automatically come to the U.S.
Yep.
Now they're going to Shanghai.
Makes sense. The people are there. The money's there.
The money's there. I mean, I get great sushi in Shanghai now. But it's $300 for two to have dinner.
Nice.
And it's packed. You can't even get in.
That's really good. So we've got a lot of franchise players out there that also we work with that have those restaurants and those different things. So that it's really that's primed for the picking as far as getting your franchise into China now.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where we really have done some. We can't mention the names, but we've helped some franchises.
I know some, and let's just say ice cream.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Big ice cream, yes.
But the huge opportunity there, like I say, KFC and Pizza Hut, and all those guys are finding that very quickly their businesses have grown bigger there than they have anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, for years. And I mean, they probably in 1 year do what they did 10 years in growth in the United States, right? I mean, it's the numbers scale.
Yeah, so we help them find the right partners, investors, make sure that
Did I hear you say investors?
yeah, because there are, for good U.S. franchises or Western franchises, not just U.S., there's a lot of investment money that's looking for those kind of opportunities.
Okay, nice.
And there's big companies there in China that, want to, partner up with big Western brands to enter the market. And in most cases, it really does make sense to have a Chinese partner.
Right.
And so we help find those partners and make sure that the regulations were followed, do all that stuff.
Perfect. So when we talk about investors and we talk about China and we talk about brands, the elephant in the room obviously is, am I going to get ripped off by China? So if I come over there and I bring my brand over, is there going to be, Schlepsy next to Pepsi and they just automatically copy my brand? Is that what is the...
If you set up properly,
okay,
meaning follow the regulations the way they are, and you pick solid, well-researched partners, then the answer is no.
Okay, good.
Fine, because there are a lot of very, very legit companies there. But the problem with, particularly American companies going in there is, first of all, Americans, I forget the number, it's like 85% of Americans don't even have a passport.
Yeah.
So typically we don't travel very well.
I know.
And we check our brains at the door. I mean, you've seen it in Russia. Guys that come in and go, I got the cable franchise for, St. Petersburg. I go, where'd you get it from? Well, the taxi driver told me his brother, and you just sit there and go, what are you thinking? But if you go through normal due diligence,
right,
you investigate the people that you might be doing business with, you could find good, solid partners / investors there. There's a lot of investment money there looking for a place to go.
And you've got those connections. You've got 10 years plus of experience there in China. You've got a great network. So, I'm telling all of my friends, my audience, everybody I know, every businessman out there, I'm shaking them up and I'm saying, listen, you got to talk to Larry. You got to get into China. It's absolutely critical for the next 10, 20 years to be the winningest in any brand. If you don't have a footprint in China, you lose. You just simply lose.
Well, why would anybody start a business and not want to be in the largest consumer market in the world? We can argue. We can argue if it's number 2 or 3 today, but there's no question in some short period of time it's number 1.
Exactly.
And you don't want to be left out. You don't want to be the last guy in.
Right.
Then you've got a huge uphill climb. Now, now's the time to get in.
And is it still economically feasible to get in? So if you don't have, giant budget, can we still get into China? Can we still do business there? And can we still get the right deals? Is it too expensive? Are we outpriced already?
No, it's not. You could get in. I mean, we've helped companies, that have literally gotten their market entry for, less than $250,000.
Nice.
Nice. So, and it scales up, depends on, the product, and, medical products are a little harder because you got to get approvals and stuff like that. But if you're dealing with, simple stuff like
how about supplements? I got a bunch of friends in the supplement business. They do a lot of that stuff. Is there a big need for that? Or is it strictly Chinese medicine? Are they interested in, US types of things?
It's actually interesting because Chinese, when it comes to things like, like that and beauty products and stuff, they're actually suspicious of Chinese manufacturers. And they like overseas manufacturers better because they feel like they're going to get what they think they're buying.
Nice.
And stuff. So there have been problems with Chinese supplements and stuff like that. So they love getting that kind of stuff from the West.
Super. So as I hear it, there's a giant opportunity that over the next, let's say, 10 years. If you don't call me and I don't call Larry, you're totally missing out. It seems like you're not only late to the party, like you missed the entire party, because that's where let's just say I hope. I'm not betting against America. I love America. I'm the most loyal American anywhere. But I think when we're putting on our businessman hats, this is a worldwide economy now, and we have to be in every single market or we're missing the boat. So for those of you who are skeptical, I think, you got to make the call and say, hey, let's explore it and go down that route and take the action to do it. I think you're insane not to.
It's kind of, if you go back here, some years ago and you say, okay, I got a new product I'm going to launch, but I'm not going to worry about everybody west of the Mississippi. I mean, it's just silly to leave that on the table.
Yeah. And you've been at the foreground. You were there for cable. You've been before everything, and you've been there, including China. Everybody's talking about it, and you're the one doing it. And that's why, honestly, out of all my friend group, of all my mentor group, and you've been a great mentor to me for many years, and I highly, highly, highly respect you. You are, above all, the winningest in what you do, because you're a pioneer, yet you're not getting arrows in your back. For some reason, you're always able to be ahead of the game and win.
Yeah. Just to give you, a quick example. When I started in China, I did a show called Hello Hollywood.
Right.
Which is kind of, look at the, all the stuff going on in China, but geared to a Chinese audience. And when I would call up a studio, a PR department, and say, hey, listen, I need to get a crew on the red carpet, because I'm doing the show for China, they would look at me and go, Larry, we love you, but what do we care about China? Well, in case you don't know it, China is now the largest movie market in the world.
Yeah.
Movies are opening up in China and doing $1 billion in China.
Wow.
So, now those same publicists are calling me and going, do you think you can give me 20 seconds on your show? Again, if you're a movie maker and you don't want to be in China, you're just not thinking clearly.
You're a fool. Yeah. So, making it in Mandarin, making it in English, I think that's the future, is probably having guest stars from all different genres so you can release the same story and edit with different main characters. That makes...
And there's a zillion different ways, and the economics change. Right now we're doing a big movie called Empress.
I saw that.
The first woman ruler of China. But, when I came up with this idea a few years
ago. How did that go, by the way?
We're in the process of...
the first woman ruler of China. How did that work out for China?
Oh, it's actually considered the greatest era of prosperity in the history of China.
Wow.
Empress Wu. And she's kind of like their George Washington.
Okay.
But nobody outside of China knows it. So I wanted to do a movie using all American-born Chinese, Canadian-born Chinese, and do a movie about her in English, where you give it the Hollywood spin, so it's not so much a historical drama.
So you're filming a English movie in China?
We're going to shoot it half in China and half in Vancouver.
Okay.
There's a lot of English-speaking Chinese in Vancouver.
Right.
And
I think only more so in Sydney, right?
Yeah. And so, the movie, I had Ron Bass write the screenplay. Ron won the Academy Award for Rain Man and co-wrote Joy Luck Club. And
nice.
Whatever. And, the way we give it a take, it's a woman's struggle to make it in a male-dominated society, which is a very modern, timely subject matter. And
it's a great story.
And we're in the process of signing our director now, and then we'll go out for talent, and the movie will be out next year.
Nice. Well, I don't even have to say break a leg or I wish you success or anything like that. Everything you touch definitely turns to gold. You have the Midas touch. You have the Midas timing. And I really thank you for sharing your knowledge, your experience, and actually opening up China to my audience and myself. So if anybody wants to reach you, what's the best way to get in touch?
Well, you can get me on email. It's larry@matonglobal.com.
Super.
And that's the best way to find me.
Super. So we'll send a lot of people your way. That's our main goal, because we're here to help business owners. We're here to help people that have existing businesses that are successful, that want to get to higher levels of success. And again, the man to do it with is Larry Namer. And you are the winningest. And thank you for being on the show today.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a great day.